you all today. This is being recorded for folks who can't join us today, who may want to watch this grant workshop later. And so first, apologies, it's finally we get a sunny day and then here we are all on Zoom, but that's how it goes. Hope you can enjoy the sunshine at some point today. So my name is Ellie Grogan and I'm the interim vice president for community impact with Community Foundation Sonoma County. I've been with the organization in different capacities since 2014. And I think we'll start today by doing introductions to our team so that you can get a sense of everyone who's involved in this great effort, visible to you and folks behind the scenes, and then we'll dive into the content of our workshop. So Caitlin, Annette, Jose, and then Mike, if you guys could introduce yourselves with your names and roles, that would be terrific.
Hi, everybody. I'm Caitlin Childs. I'm the Director of Communications here for Community Foundation Sonoma County. It's really great to see everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'm Annette Williams, and I'm Community Impact Coordinator, and I am here to help you with anything related to the portal. Nice to see you all today. Over to you, Jose.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jose Castro-Gambino, the Community Impact Officer here at the Community Foundation, Sonoma County.
Terrific. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we will dive in here. So first, in case you don't know where you are, here you are at the Sonoma County Vintners Foundation Grant Workshop 2023. There's going to be a technological lag here. Here we go. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to start with Mike Haney, who is the Executive Director of the Sonoma County Vintners and the Sonoma County Vintners Foundation, who is going to give you an overview of their work and our partnership together. And then we will dive into this year's community grants. So I'm going to be talking about the funding priorities for this year, the criteria for evaluation, and answer questions that you may have. And then I will turn it over to my colleague, Jose, who will walk you through the application process, including the different components of the application, how to access technical support, the timeline, and again, any questions. And I will say that, you know, the application process is the same for the Vintners Foundation as it is for any of the community foundations grant programs. So if it's familiar to you and you've been through this before, you're welcome to, you know, take that time back in your day, and we will remind you of that when we get to that point if you want to drop off the call. So I am going to turn it over to Mike Haney to tell us more about the Vintners.
Right, Ellie, thank you so much. And let me take this opportunity, first of all, with so many of you here, just to say thank you for the extraordinary work that you all do throughout Sonoma County. You know, we are honored just to partner with all of you. You know, it is a real inspiration to do the fundraising that we do, but then to see how that money is used in the community through the great works that you all do is really inspiring to me, our team, and our board. So first and foremost, thank you for all that you do each and every day here in the community. Just let me take a minute here to tell you just a little bit about Sonoma County Vintners and our foundation. Because if you look at our organization, we're actually kind of two separate companies in a way, kind of all under one umbrella. Our Sonoma County Vintners Association is a 501c6 and our foundation is a 501c3. Our same team and board administrate both organizations. But as I said, if you look at the totality of our organizations, we're kind of like three separate components or companies. One is, of course, our trade association under Sonoma County Vintners. And under that component, we do a lot of our member services, our marketing and promoting, our continuing education for our wineries in Sonoma County. All of our political advocacy goes under that component. So a lot of things happen under that trade association umbrella. And then we have our events management component. We produce some of the largest events here in Sonoma County. Our events team does, with our barrel auction, of course, Taste of Sonoma, some of you may have gone to, that happens in June. Our Sonoma Summit, which is an international component this year, will be bringing a fairly large group from Korea over to Sonoma County. And then, of course, they manage the Sonoma County wine auction as well that benefits the foundation. And then the third component is, of course, our foundation itself. which, as many of you know, is one of the larger charitable donors here in Sonoma County, and we're blessed to work with so many great nonprofit partners like yourself. Just since 2020, we've been able to partner with over 400 nonprofit organizations, and it's just a real pleasure and honor to be able to work with so many great people. Of course, our foundation works in a number of areas and really looks to address health and human services, situations and issues with our environment, the arts, education. Of course, we also have assisted in homelessness here. Our emergency relief fund has responded through fire mitigations and, of course, floods. And then, of course, in pandemic response, our foundation provided testing, distributed vaccines, PPE, and a number of other things throughout so many organizations here in Sonoma County. But we couldn't do all that, of course, without the generosity of our wine community here in Sonoma County. And we are just honored to represent them and be the conduit for their generosity to you all. But without taking any more time, again, I just wanted to once again say how honored we are to partner with all of you. You do amazing work and you're an inspiration. When we get out and our team gets out to see and visit some of our nonprofits out there and see the impact that they're having in our community, it's truly fantastic. So thank you all for all that you do.
Thank you, Mike. And yes, here. Thank you so much to all of you on this call for the work that you guys do every single day for this community. And I will say we are so grateful for our partnership with the Sonoma County Vintners and really feel like we're able to both do what we do best with the Vintners being able to harness that generosity and charitable impulse of donors here in the community, but across the state and across the country. There's folks who travel from a long way to come to the wine auction each year. So being able to bring in those resources into Sonoma County and then us supporting that and being able to help with the distribution of the funding. It's a great partnership. And thank you, Mike, for your time today to come and talk with us. So let's dive into the Community Grants Program, which is the primary grant program of the Sonoma County Vintners. And this is a broadly accessible, responsive grant program that we have each year. And the intent is really that we're able to support organizations across Sonoma County in different regions, serving different populations, working in different kind of, as we call them, program areas, and that this is an open, competitive grant process that any organization or under fiscal sponsorship can apply for. This year, as in previous years, the maximum grant you can apply for is $10,000. Which enables us to provide full awards for your proposals as much as possible while balancing being able to support a wide number of organizations across the county. And this is and then in terms of funding priorities, this is consistent from year to year. This is a broad program across arts and culture, education, environment, and health and human services. So now we're going to dive into the individual program areas and go through what the specific criteria is for those. But before I do that, I do want to say one of the most frequent questions that we get is, can we apply for grants in multiple program areas? And the answer is generally, we would not recommend it. Because in a sense, you're competing with yourself. We will support one organization, one proposal in one program area. The exceptions would be if you are a fiscal sponsor to another entity, then both you as fiscal sponsor and the organization you're sponsoring can, of course, apply for grants. And the second general exception would be if you are a very large organization and you work across very different areas, maybe health and human services and education, then we would accept multiple proposals. That we would recommend that you contact us first, just so that we can have a conversation about it and ensure that it's time well spent for you in applying. So let's move into our program areas. So I will say, just to start, that with all of these program areas this year, it will look almost identical to last year. There's really only one change with education. But for those of you who are newer to this grant program, I want to make sure that we cover all of the program areas. So for Health and Human Services, the funding priority this year is to target programs or projects that support the fundamental needs of our most vulnerable community members, which could include mental and behavioral health, housing, and food insecurity. Obviously, this is a wide, broad category, and that's intentional. There are so many needs within this program area, particularly as we are emerging from the pandemic on top of multiple fires and floods over the last 6 years, which has only exacerbated the need for mental health services, housing support, and food, emergency food assistance. So this is the area where we receive the highest number of applications. It's also the area where the majority of the funding goes, and that is most likely the case this year. With education, this is the area that has changed this year. We know, and the Sonoma County Vintners have had a long-standing commitment to early childhood education because we know the impacts, the positive impacts that come from high quality early learning experiences across your whole educational experience and as an adult. And in Sonoma County, there's been great effort to narrow the gap in early learning experiences, but because of the pandemic, we have lost some of those gains. And we're actually seeing in Sonoma County, there's been a 5th straight year of decline. So for this year, the sole focus of education is programs or projects that offer children, youth, and their families the opportunity to increase early literacy skills. Moving into the environment, this is the same as last year. I'm sure living in Sonoma County, this one is one that's easy to understand. So disaster mitigation is clearly a huge need as we deal with increasingly frequent catastrophic wildfires. And so this funding area is around reducing fire fuels. And that could be through prescribed grazing, prescribed burns, and manual vegetation management, but it's not limited to that. What is not on this slide, but is in the program overview on our website, is that an additional aspect of the emphasis here is on the workforce and creating a pipeline for young people and those wanting to make a career switch into supporting disaster mitigation projects. And so organizations that are emphasizing the workforce development, particularly for people who wouldn't otherwise have access to those kinds of career opportunities, they're going to be prioritized within this program area. And finally, for arts and culture, we've experienced so much over these last 5 or 6 years, and we know that we need financial assistance, we need all of these kind of basic needs to be met, but we also need ways to heal. And that can come through mental health support, but it can also come through creativity and creative expression and celebration. And so for the focus area with arts and culture, similar to last year, we are focusing on programs or projects that explore the arts and creative expression as a form of healing. So in summary, here are the focus areas. I will say that we've gotten the question in the past around, for arts organizations in particular, what does that mean to say you're focused on healing? And arts and culture programs in general be healing? I would say yes. And in your grant proposal, you would really want to make the case for how specifically the program that you're providing links to that healing aspect. I would recommend, if you haven't done so already, that you take a look at our grant application on our website. Some of you have already submitted applications or have started the process, but if you have not, we've posted Word documents on our website for each program area that outline all the questions. So if you're unsure on maybe where you should apply, or if your organization is a fit with this year's grant program, I would recommend that you take a look at those questions because they will be illuminating for you in assessing that. And as we're going, I meant to say this earlier, but if you have questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat as we go, and we'll also hold time for questions at the end of this. So in terms of criteria for evaluation, this year will be a more competitive process than last year. Like we are seeing across the philanthropic world, fundraising is down because of the pandemic, and so the Vintners were not immune to that. So this will be a more competitive process than it was last year. What we try to do is ensure when all of the proposals come in, we look at the number of proposals, and since it's all $10,000 grants, it's all about the same in terms of those requests. And then we try to allocate funding in a way that will ensure that each program area is equitably competitive, if that makes sense. We strive to have an approval to decline ratio of between 50 and 70%. I will say this year it's going to be closer to 50%. But we try to ensure that even if there's a lot of applications within Health and Human Services, it's the same level of competitiveness as, let's say, Arts and Culture, where maybe we would get 10 proposals or something like that. So for our criteria for evaluation, of course, the first one is that you can demonstrate that what you want to do strongly aligns with the community grants funding priorities. This is a one-year grant period, and these tend to be for program and project support. So we would like to see that you can articulate clear goals, an implementation timeline, and how you will make that program happen, your staffing, and that's all achievable within a one-year grant period. And with all of our grant making at the Community Foundation, and the Sonoma County Vintners Foundation is no different, we really focus on increasing access and opportunity for a diverse sector of the community. So really focusing on equity in our grant making. And then finally, our eligibility criteria. So you do need to be a Sonoma County 501c3 nonprofit, or a nonprofit that's outside of Sonoma County that is doing significant work within Sonoma County. And if you are working with a fiscal sponsor, that is wonderful, and you can apply under that fiscal sponsorship. We will talk a little bit more about how to apply if you have a fiscal sponsor later in this workshop. And then if you've applied for a community foundation grant in the past, this will look familiar to you in terms of what we do not support, such as scholarships, capital campaigns, conferences, things like that. So, questions. I am going to stop sharing for a moment just so we can see everybody. If you have any questions, please don't be shy. You can pop them in the chat. You can just unmute yourself. And it's okay if you don't have a question. Yes, Megan.
So you said that there's probably going to be a greater need. Let's say that a lot of people are applying for $10,000, like you kind of gave the example of. Is there any possibility that some folks might get a reduction, or would it either be all or nothing?
Great question. We strive to fully fund your proposal because we know that you have created a plan based around a certain amount. And so if we give you less funding, we're saying we want you to do more with less. And so we really strive to fully fund your proposal whenever possible. That being said, it does happen sometimes that there are partial grants.
And I mean, let's say that you have a proposal for $10,000, but you could maybe possibly reduce your programming or something and put it on for $8,000, just not 100% of what you had intended to do. Is that something that you would suggest highlighting in the?
I would put forward the full 10,000.
Okay.
Just not open that door.
Okay.
Let's see. Stacy has a question around the age range that we're thinking about in relation to early literacy. That's a really excellent question. And I would say the Sonoma County Vintners Foundation has had an early literacy initiative in the past over many years. And for that initiative, it was sort of up to third grade. And thinking about early literacy, that you're learning to read up until then, and after that, you're reading to learn. So that's the 0 to 8 range would be what we're looking for. And then Donnie asked, will there still be the ability to apply 10% toward overhead administrative costs? That was astute of you to notice that there was no percentage given. We know costs have gone up. We know it's a hard time with staff, and we will leave it up to you to determine what percentage you would like to apply towards your costs. And the application deadline, great question. Jose is going to go into that a little bit later, so let's hold that question. And then I saw a hand go up. Was that you, Maureen?
Hi, I was just wondering if we have a program that is, say, a $15,000 total encompassing program, can we apply for 10 from this from the Vintners if we have other funds available to balance out so we can offer the complete program at 15, even though we'd asked you for 10?
Absolutely.
And would you want that defined in the proposal to see collaboration or understand that there is funding that would bring it to its full amount?
I think that would be very wise. It's always really helpful to see, this is the last amount that we would need to be able to kind of get over that line and make this program happen. That's always really nice. So
Thank you.
Great. Tom. Oh, we can't, for some reason, we can't hear you.
That's now you can hear me.
Yeah.
I'm with the 222 Healdsburg Performing Arts, and we have a couple of programs I might apply for here. The one I would most like to is a conversation program. That happens once a month. It's different people, some of them poets, some of them like we've had the head monk from the Bishop's Ranch in Healdsburg. We've had it's a wide collection of people, some of whom are in fact from religious backgrounds. It's not a religious program. It's a conversation program and a look at the creative process, specifically as it relates to healing and nurturing. So, I mean, it feels like it fits exactly what you're looking for, but it does have this religious component. And so or not component, but religious participation. So I'm just curious how that feels as within the guideline you just created.
Right. Yeah. Excellent question. That sounds fine. I think what we're trying to prevent is kind of like a condition. So saying, you can receive food if you sit through, an hour-long mass or something like that,
Yeah,
right? So
that is definitely not
yeah,
what we're doing.
which is definitely not. It doesn't sound like that. So, so that's kind of where that comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Great question. Any other questions? And it's really fun to see some familiar faces here. Okay, well, if any more questions come up, please do feel free to pop them in the chat. If there's something that you want to talk about very specific to your organization where you're, say, okay, this program or this program, which one do you think would be a stronger fit, that kind of thing, please feel free to hang on at the end of the Zoom call and we can chat about that, or you can follow up with me individually by email and we can find a time to chat. So let me share my screen again, and I am going to turn it over to Jose to talk about the application process.
Thank you, Ellie. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Jose. I am the Community Impact Officer, and I'm just going to run through a few things just as how to apply, going through the application components, how to get technical supports for the online application process, this year's timeline, and answer any questions you may have. Thank you, Annette, for already going ahead and sending in the chat our link to where to apply. So you can also go to www.sonomacf.org and please click the grantee login icon indicated in the red arrow, the down arrow, just to navigate our portal site. If you have an existing account, you can go ahead and log in. If you've forgotten your password, just please click the reset. And if you don't have a login, there's an indication of creating a new account. If you still have more questions, any further questions, we invite you to contact our colleague Annette, and her information is in that slide. So on this webpage, it will ask your organization's basic information, including the tax ID, the applicant's information, and the executive director's information, and we'll create your own password. After that, you'll complete the registration and confirmation email that will be sent over to you. And then you can go ahead and log in and apply. Just to note, this is just for creating an account. If you've already logged into your account, it's going to go to the next step in a few slides. But one thing to note is that if you're applying through a fiscal sponsor, this registration page's information, including tax ID, should be on the fiscal sponsor. You will have an opportunity to enter information about the organization being sponsored within the application.
And Jose, I did just want to jump in to add that something that that we wanted to mention, which is if you've seen this before and you know how to apply, please do feel free to hop off at this point. If you do want to hang on the call to talk individually later, then please stay. But otherwise, thank you for coming. All right, back to you.
Thank you, everybody. So once you've already logged in, you'll find your dashboard. This includes your organization's profile and active historical requests, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. And that will, at the bottom of the screen, you will bring up to the page. This will bring you to the page of all 4 grant opportunities once you hit the apply button. And we'll just go to the next slide. We've set up each funding priority to be separate applications. So there'll be 4 different applications once you've gone to that apply button. And you'll scroll until you can find the application you're looking forward to applying. And you'll click that blue apply button that has the arrow down. Pay close attention to the funding priority in the description and that you're applying to the correct one. As you can see on the screen, we're applying for the environment. So you'll find critical deadlines in this information, as well as the grant period into the intro page. And you can preview these questions by clicking the preview button. To apply, just go ahead and click the blue button on the top right of the application description. After you've started an application, you'll find the draft on your dashboard. I just want to talk to you about the application components for a moment. The narrative questions for each of the 4 applications can be found as a Word document on the Community Grants Overview page. We know that you might prefer to type your responses into Word documents and then copy them over to the application. When ready, that's perfectly fine to do. Please note the character count on each question so your responses can stay within the limits. And both the organization and the program budgets are required as a part of the application, and we do not have a template for your organization budget, but we do have one for program budgets. It can be found on our webpage at the Community Grants Overview website. You can find that hyperlink within the application itself. Another required document is your organization's board of directors list. This can be uploaded directly into the application. You'll find the section of additional attachments in your application, and this is entirely optional. In case you feel there's something critical to include as a part of the application, there's a spot for it there. And a little bit more about fiscal sponsorships. Grants can only be awarded to nonprofits designated as a 501c3. And what does a 501c3 mean? This refers to an IRS designation code that verifies the organization is charitable, tax exempt, and a nonprofit. Organizations that do not have this designation can still apply, but still must be formalized as a fiscal sponsor. A fiscal sponsor is an organization with a 501c3 status that serves as an official recipient of the grant on behalf of the organization that does not have a status. If you're applying through a fiscal sponsor, the registration information on our portal should be complete with the fiscal sponsor's tax ID. Within the application itself, both the fiscal sponsor of the organization being sponsored will be asked to provide their organization's budget and their board of directors or advisory lists. Organizations applying with a fiscal sponsor will also need to submit a fiscal sponsorship form, which can be found in the application itself via a hyperlink. Fiscal sponsorship forms. This form is to summarize Thank you. The terms and relationships of the responsibilities of the non-exempt group and the fiscal sponsor and must be submitted in the application. And then we'll move on to technical supports and tips. Now, I recommend you to review the FAQs for the grants, for the community grants that we have on our community grants webpage. We also have grant application portal guides that walk you through the whole application process, just in case you need more assistance. The application is automatically saved, but you can also select the save button if you prefer. You can use any browser for this grant portal system, but I encourage you to choose a browser that is not IE, that does not include. If you have trouble getting to your account, you can always contact our colleague Annette Williams, our community impact coordinator. And I'll move over to our, thank you, Annette. I'll move over to our timeline. So you can see February 27th, the applications are open now as of Monday. And on Friday, March 17th, applications close for the environment, arts and culture, and education. I'll just repeat that by the applications close for March 17th for the following applications: for the environment, arts and culture, and education. For the following week, March 24th, Health and Human Services, applications are due at 5 p.m. Stagger deadlines to ensure just the systems doesn't get bogged down as deadlines approach, to hollow any questions that will come in the next few days. We expect to notify applicants around early May. This grant period is for this grant program is one year timeline, which is about June 15th, 2023 to June 14th, 2024. Funds for this grants do not need to be expended within the grant period. With every grant cycle that we run, the week or two before the deadlines become very busy for us, we receive calls and emails from nonprofits who have questions about their applications and about how to apply. And we highly encourage you to begin your application now and apply before any deadline, so that in case that you run into any issues or have any questions, we're able to respond to you. We cannot promise that if you contact us you contact us in an hour before the deadline, that we're able to call you back before the grant deadline. And if you have any questions, we're able to speak about general questions now. If you have any specific questions, we're able to talk about them at this moment, or you can reach after us after this presentation.
Thank you, Jose. Yes, I feel like we don't get as many 4 p.m. questions anymore on that last day, but it's always a good reminder because we want you to be successful in submitting your application and want to be able to support you with that. So if there are any questions now about anything that we've covered at this point, please feel free to pipe up and ask your question. Let's see, looking in the chat, I don't see any questions. Okay, we must have answered all your questions. Charity, would you like to say something?
Ellie, I have one. Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of this information. I was wondering if there's going to be any preference if we're going to apply. I'm from Social Advocates for Youth, and we wanted to apply under the Health and Human Services category. And I know that there's a housing priority as well as a behavioral health priority. And last year we applied for the counseling program within our housing continuum to provide counseling in that way. And I was just wondering if there's going to be more or less competition in either of those areas, if we'd be more competitive applying for housing or counseling, because we have a need for both.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. That's a good question. It depends on what comes in. So it really varies each year. I would say the intent is to support all of those areas: housing and homelessness, behavioral and mental health, and then, food. But it doesn't, we don't necessarily further break it down and say, okay, this amount of funding for this part of health and human services.
Okay, thank you.
Angela had a question about a specific breakdown among the 4 categories. So for example, 80% to Health and Human Services, 10% to the environment. Typically what we do is look at the full amount of proposals that have come in. And usually it's around, 50 to 60% or for Health and Human Services. So the breakdown of funding is typically by the percentages that we receive of each, if that makes sense. And then within that, we try to make it sort of equitably competitive. So I would say, roughly it's been, and don't necessarily quote me on this, but 50 to 60% Health and Human Services, usually about 30% education, and then 15 and 15 for arts and the environment. Okay. All right, well, if we don't have any additional questions, then we will give you back 20 minutes in your day. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the great work that you do. I know it has not been easy over these last couple of years, and we really appreciate how you give back to the community. So thank you very much, and
Thank
we
you.
will hang on the call for a few minutes if you want to talk individually.
Yeah, thank you for all you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.